great day, attractive thinker and visual encouragers. Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Break. Give yourself a fighting chance. Dr. Toni Hatton here, your identity coach and get to the root specialist at the Attractive Thinker Guru. We are here to support you as a new and aspiring entrepreneur with mental resources and tools to support you in accomplishing your goals, be it to write your book or start your business. We need mental resources because the mind will wander. It'll pull you back to where you came from. It'll keep you comfortable in a comfort zone. And we need to have tools to have a mental breakfast. I call it a mental breakfast. And if you have your copy, if you don't have your copy, actually, make sure you get your copy of the Attractive Thinker Experience on Amazon today because in this copy of this transformational experience, it's 726 pages. It's a hardcover, full color opportunity for you to get the support that you need so that you can. Today's topic is don't let the hindrances hinder you. I mentioned that because this transformational experience that you have that you're going to get on Amazon, it's about giving you the tools that you need to so that you can be supported while you're not allowing these hindrances to hinder you, to stop you in your tracks. So today we're going to be talking about what can you do when you feel hindered? Because as an attractive thinker and visual encourager, we don't allow circumstances to stop our progress. We have goals, we have things to accomplish, we have a life to create, a legacy to create, live, and leave. So if we allow life circumstances to hinder us, we're not going to make as much progress as we could possibly make with the time that we have here to shed. Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Break. Give yourself a fighting chance.
Happy Mindset Monday, everybody. We made it to another week full of power. We get to do what we've never done, go where we've never gone, and have all that we deserve to have in this lifetime. It's a great day to be alive and a great day to not have our hindrances hinder us anymore. Dr. Toni, you talk so much about allowing our power to build a life that we love and leaving a legacy, creating things that speak when we no longer can, and we're doing all that by perception first. There are some things in life that we feel is a hindrance, but if we really look deep down inside, those hindrances does not have to hinder us, right? They don't have to stop us. Just because you see a speed bump in your way does not mean you have to stop. It just means you have the ability to go over, go around, go through, go under, but go, right? We can see mountains ahead of us, things that look like a hindrances. And when you have a mindset or perception that you have an intention of a journey and you're willing to go on that journey and you have a vision in mind, you don't stop until you get to that vision. So when you see a mountain, you have to not see yourself as a person who can't go around that mountain. You have to see yourself as the power that can speak to that mountain and tell it to move and allow it to move to the side so that you can keep going. We have to have the ability to see ourselves as people who have conquered the mountain, not the mountain conquered us. Not we stopped our vision because this hindrance came up. There are hindrances in our life at this moment that could have come from childhood trauma, that could have come from a decision we regret, that could have come from something unexpected happening, that could have come from any given situation. And it developed this hardness or this shell around us that we thought we were using to protect us, but it actually started to become a hindrance because while we got that shell around us, we weren't getting the full view of what life has to offer, right? And so as we begin to go through our attractive thinker movement, being visionaries, trailblazers, pathfinders, and groundbreakers, when we are going through that life, we begin to break off some of the hardness in our heart, the hardness in our life, so that we can get a clear vision of what is standing in our way. We have to make sure that when we are on a journey, a solid journey, We don't have to stay stale, stuck, or stagnant. We have a decision to move forward. We have a decision to go. All it takes is one bold decision to say, I'm not going to let any insecurity, any hindrances stop me. I'm not going to let my childhood trauma stop me from being my powerful self. I'm not going to let the fact that I thought this was going to happen, but that didn't happen, stop me from being my powerful self. Your powerful self is so important. It is so important. And so we are going through life right now with the intent. We are building with intention. When you're building intention, things are going to come up. Hindrances are going to come up. Things that should have stopped you is going to come up. But when you see yourself as a groundbreaker, a trailblazer, not even a road's end could stop you because you're just going to break through it. You're just going to trailblaze it, right? Nothing is going to stop you when you get your mind set to going where you need to go. Even if you got to reroute the whole thing, even if sometimes you say, every time I go forward, I step 2 steps backwards. Well, when after you finish stepping 2 steps backwards, go 3 steps forward. Let that 2 step backwards help push you forward, right? Just like how we talk about the archer. When the archer is ready to do the bow and arrow, he has the bow in his hand. You would think that the archer would just pick up the bow and just throw it. But no, there's strategy to this. The archer has to pull back the bow, and it has to pull it back so far so that they can get their aim and they can hit the target faster, right? We always talk about going further, faster. Toni used to say that on the radio all the time. So you can go further, faster. That's the thing that happens with the bow and arrow. The more you stretch back, the more forward you can go. The more you aim with precision, the more you aim for precision, the more you are more likely to hit the vision right on ahead. So if you feel like you were just brought 2 steps back, you feel like you were hindered, you have to remind yourself about this archer and position yourself for forward movement. So when you feel hindered, you position yourself for forward movement, and then you have to have the ability to let go, and then let's see you going forward to hit your target. And you realize your hindrances were actually a tool used to bring you forward. Back to you, Dr. Toni.
Tichet, while you're talking, I'm writing, taking some notes. Um, when we talk about hindrances, see, you mentioned it while I was writing, and you hit the target right on the head. There is something that needs to be in place in order for hindrances not to hinder you while you're writing your books and launching your business ideas as a new and aspiring entrepreneur, or whatever goal you might have, changing your life, transforming some things, taking it on, embracing a new season of your life, whatever that new thing is. There's these things that I'm going to mention to Shed have to be in place, or if they're not in place, we tend to blame things that really are not the reason for us being hindered or for our
Mm-hmm.
progress being hindered. Number one, like you said, your mind has to be made up. What is this goal that you desire to accomplish? Let's say it's to write your book. How many times have we heard people use a whole list of excuses and give you different reasons every time you ask them about the reason as to why they don't have their book yet? The book that they say that they're going to write, the book that they're excited about, or the book that they know is going to make a difference in the world, or the book that they've been called to write or anointed to write, or whatever that might be. How many times have you encountered them, be it a New Year's Eve party or a social event or some other milestone, and you say, have you written the book yet? And they'll give a reason. No, such and such happened, and I had to put that project off. I'm still going to write it, but as soon as I move that and get settled in, then I'll write it. Or as soon as this changes, or as soon as the children are grown, or as soon as that I have this baby, or whatever it might be, then I'll write the book. But when the mind is made up, there are no hindrances. No matter what's happening in life, whether you have to move or something changed or something happened or something popped up or your children aren't grown yet, whatever it might be, when the mind is made up, you get the book done. These things that come up in life aren't aren't going to hinder you or stop you from actually accomplishing the goal or launching your business idea. Who said we can only have businesses when after our children get grown? Who said we can only have businesses when we have all our ducks lined up in a row, we have all the money laid out? Who said we can't start a business or write a book? And who said we can't write a book if we don't have a degree? Who said we can't write a book because we didn't take a course in book writing, or people, we don't have a platform, or whatever, all of the reasons in this, or we're a certain age, we're too young, or we're too old, or we're too tall or too short, or we're too poor or too wealthy, or too qualified or underqualified, whatever it might be. We've experienced all of these things, but when the mind is made up, there are no hindrances. There's nothing that can stop you from reaching your goal. So when we talk about hindrance, don't allow the hindrance to hinder you. The word hinder, when I look that word up, it means to cause delay, interruption, to impede progress, to prevent you from doing something, to stop something from happening, to hold you back, to keep you stuck, to get in the way of. All of this is a form of hindrance. So instead of using the word hinder, let me use this word to give you a better understanding, in hopes that you will perceive or get a better visual of what Tichet and I are trying to share with you today. Allowing a hindrance to hinder you. So what is it that's causing a delay in your book project or your business project? What is the interruption? What interrupted your progress? Instead of using the word hinder, let me say, what prevented you from doing what you said you were going to do? See, these are questions that I'm asking that you can ask yourself to snap you out of the energy of uh, feeling like you're hindered, or feeling like your hands are tied, or feeling like there's really something stopping you. What really held you back? What makes you feel held back? What makes you say that you're being held back? What is keeping you stuck? What is really in the way? When you think about that, you sit down and you ponder, you say, what is really in the way? And then you might name something. Then you say, well, that's not really in the way because I could take care of that. And then you name something else. Maybe it's this. And you say, well, I could, take care of that too. Or that's not really. And then you get down to the root of it. And maybe the root is a lack of clarity. Maybe the root is a lack of commitment. Maybe the root is a lack of courage. Maybe the root is you don't believe that you can get this done. You don't believe that you can be an author or write a book. Well, let me just share something with you. You're already an author if you have an idea for writing a book, because authors get ideas for writing books. You're not an author once the book is in print. You're an author because you have a mind of an author. You have the mind to write the book. You have a mind to share your story. You have a mind to empower other people with the lessons and the blessings and the gems that you've gathered along the way in your own life. Authors do that. So you're already an author. You don't need to be qualified to be an author. You don't need validation and approval. You don't need nobody to say, well, you need to take this course before you can be an author. You're already an author. So we have to remove the hindrances and get the mind right. The mindset is everything. We have to get the mind right first. When you get the mind right, everything else. Do you know, just by having a clear mind, some obstacles just disappear and fall away because they are perceived. A lot of them are perceived obstacles. And sometimes you do have things in your way that could possibly hinder you, but your perception of them can help you overcome them.
Sure.
Your perception of them. So many times I've had things in my experience that really, I want to say, if I wanted to just check out and say, you know what, I'm just going to take another route, or I'm not going to pursue this anymore. Anybody in their right mind would say, Toni, you know what, you have that right. Facing something like this, you have that right to do this and that and the other. But it was my perception of it. I chose the path. I chose my outcome. I chose how I wanted to view that situation. And most of the time, if you choose a perception, a way of viewing it that makes you feel eerie or makes you feel bad, you're not going to make progress. You're not going to see the good. There's good in everything, but we're not going to see that part. We're not going to receive answers because we're not open to it. If we have a perception that is making us, number one, making us feel bad, meaning your thoughts, how you see things, if how you see things is making you feel bad or making you feel like you can't overcome or you're not going to get through or making you feel like it's going to be a struggle and it's going to be hard and you're going to get hurt and all this crazy stuff is going on, your brain is not open to answers. It's not open to another route. Sometimes so many times in my journey, I asked God, I said, show me another way, because I had already made my mind that I was going to accomplish this goal. And because I felt like there was a major challenge that I had to face. Sometimes, you can face a challenge and say, I'm going to find a way through it. I'm going to overcome it. And then there are other times you say, you know what? I'm not up for this. Show me another way. I'm going to take another route, because we don't always have to take the most challenging route to reach our goal. And that's a perception as well. It works for whoever decides to perceive it that way. You can right now, attractive thinking, you can say, well, I don't want to, I'm done with the hard stuff. I'm in a season of ease right now. You can declare that in your own life right now. I'm in a season of ease. So me accomplishing this goal, it's going to be easy for me. It's not going to be hard like it used to. And just by you saying that and fully believing that, you have to, when you say, you have to ponder it for a minute and really think about it and absorb it. And when you fully believe that, you begin to attract experiences and opportunities that will make it easy for you to reach your goal. And I know it's easier said than done. Mental work is work. It's the real work. Mindset maintenance is a real thing. Once you make a decision, you make up your mind, you got to stay on guard. You can't go back to sleep. My son is in law school right now. And it's not a day that he comes home that he doesn't have something interesting and exciting to say. And he talks about the perceptions and how we perceive things, and how we perceive something really does shape our experiences and opportunity. It opens doors or it'll close doors, and how much power we actually have even when life is being presented to us. You don't have to think negative. You don't have to turn inward and think the worst of yourself. You don't have to think impossibilities and how it's not going to work out for you. You don't have to think the hard route. How many times as new and aspiring entrepreneurs, you're pursuing your goals and you encounter something, and the first sign is to pull back. As a new and aspiring entrepreneur, the first sign is to pull back and believe and think that can't happen for you, or that's just not your path, or it's not going to work out, or it's going to be hard. As a new and aspiring entrepreneur, you got to be careful who you listen to, because people can convince you that this is a hard journey. The hard part, the most hard and difficult part about this entrepreneurial journey for me, is believing in myself, believing in the God in me, having the courage and confidence to depend on, trust in, and love on myself enough. Whereas I am in my power, I'm standing in my power, and my mindset is managed. My mind is protected. You have to protect your mindset. Once you set your mind, you have to protect it. Think about it. Back in the day when they had the old TVs, whereas you didn't have a remote control, you had to walk up to the TV and change the channel by turning the knob. Once you set that channel and you go back to your seat and sit down, if your siblings were like mine, everybody wants to watch what they want to watch. So as soon as you see somebody get up, you go run to the channel. Nope, it's going to stay right here. You're not going to let them change the channel. So once you set your mind, you can't just set it and forget it. We heard that phrase, set it and forget it. You can't set this and forget it. You have to set it and maintain it. You have to set it and manage it. You have to set it and guard it. You have to set it and keep reminding your mind of the goals that you have. Or, like we said in today's topic, those hindrances can hinder you. Back to you, Tichet.
Now let's talk about the TV for a minute, because you didn't put a lot of stuff, good stuff out there, right?
Mhm.
So you know how back in the day when when you did set that channel and you were determined to watch a show, somebody, if you were like us, somebody had to hold the antenna, and you have one person standing at the TV like this, that no matter what, you're gonna watch that show. If you gotta stand there with the rabbit ears and hold the pole so I can see what's going on. Sometimes the person holding the antenna might not even get a chance to see the show, but he can hear it. You have to have that kind of
Yeah.
desire for
Mhm.
a default in your life to be happiness. You have to be peaceful, to be powerful. You have to have that kind of uh, uh, tenacity, that kind of vision, the forward thinking movement and mindset. Like you said, if you once you set your mind, you have to be willing to maintain it. Like the person standing there holding the elephant ears had to maintain that pose. Don't you move.
That's
You
right.
have to maintain that pose, because so that I can see a clear picture, right? Because the goal was not just to see it and it's all fuzzy. We have to see it clear so we can see everything that's going on in the picture and hear it at the same time. But if anything shifts and moves, then that line start going across, and then once you start seeing that line, you start losing the vision of it. You start
Mhm.
panicking. You have to go back and reset the thing that was causing you to have that mindset in the first place. So the same thing in life. You have to place a mindset in your life. First of all, you have to discover your default. What is your default now, and what would you like your default way to be to be?
Mm.
What would you like your default way to be? To be, right? And what's the difference between that default and this default, between the two? How do you shift from one default to the other default? It's going to take consistency. It's going
Mhm.
to take openness. It's going to take being willing to get through the hard stuff. It's going to be willing. It's going to take for you to go through your own journey and begin to pull out stuff that makes a difference. It's like pull out your gems, like we say, pull out your gems from your journey. It's going to take for you to understand how you operate in this default versus how you want to operate in that default. Once you understand how you operate from this default, then you can go in and start changing from this default, changing little things at a time to this default. When you want to do this default, what kind of person needs to have that default? What kind of personality, what kind of vision, what kind of habit, what kind of character, what kind of belief, what kind of mindset does it take for you to be this default? And how much of it do you have compared to this default, and how to switch it? But one thing has to be in place, and that is a mindset. That is to make your default way of living a priority. So when we talked about the TV, it wasn't, oh, the antenna didn't work so we can't watch it. It was, okay, somebody get the wrench, somebody get the antenna. We're going to see this vision. We're going to watch this vision. Whatever they got going on, we're going to see this, this vision come forth. And we're not just going to watch it, we're going to watch it clearly. We're going to hear it and we're going to watch it. Now, you have that one person that may have made sacrifices so that everybody can hear it. These are the matriarchs of the family. They have made some excellent sacrifices so that the family can see and hear the vision as a whole, right? And so if you have been that person, no regrets, because you did what was necessary for you and your family to get the full vision. You still got the vision, you still got to hear it, but you had to make some sacrifices. And that, to me, any sacrifices that you made is worth the journey, because it was better than not being on a journey at all. You could have just sat down and said, well, we're not going to go nowhere. We're not going to do nothing. It is what it is. You could have just sat down and said that. But when you have a priority to see your vision through, there's nothing that can stop you. If everything in the world can come up, your whole car can break down. You put all the way over. Remember, Dr. Toni, when we were doing the radio, my car would break down in the middle of the freeway, and I would put to her, but getting to her was not an option. You gotta have that kind of forward thinking movement to not let nothing stop you in the way, even if you have to put all the way to your vision.
Yeah.
Put. You know what I mean? That
Right.
means I was going an inch a minute. If I had to leave 3 hours early just to get somewhere that usually took 15 minutes, then I did so.
Yeah.
But I was going to go and make a difference. I was going to watch her do conferences and things like that. It was important to me. So you have to make whatever is your default way of living has to be of importance.
Yeah.
This is what we mean by it has to be a priority, meaning this is not up for grabs when it comes to something we need to not do that day. Every day, you are granted a brand new set of 24 hours loaded with endless possibilities and available unlimited resources, right? And what you do with that 24 hours make all the difference in the world. Your will is what gets done for that 24 hours. Believe it or not, your will is what gets done, right? Because whatever you did for the last 24 hours, think of yesterday. Whatever you did for the last 24 hours is what you were willing to do. And if you were willing to set down your vision, your priority, your default for any number of problems that come up, that was your choice, right? But there are things that happen that we don't account for. Sometimes there are major situations, life changes, things like that. So if you have to put your vision down for a day to recover from the circumstances, you don't put it all the way down. You keep it in your pocket. You don't put it away. And you don't keep it away. So you keep it close to you so that you can pick it up as soon as you deal with the circumstance that just happened. But a lot of times, whatever just happened should add to your vision. It should add to you. It's a character building. None of us want to go through some of the things we have been through. There's a lot of us that have been through numerous amounts of hurt and pain. And some of us have gotten to the point where we hit rock bottom and we're too tired to be strong and too strong to be tired, and you're going through and you're kind of having this vision and it's taking so long and you start to wonder if you're on the right road. You are on the right road and you're doing the right thing and you're doing it at the right time. You have to not put it down to see it through. But there are some things that come in while you're doing that you think is hindering you, but it's not actually hindering you. It's really a perception. Because when situations and circumstances happen, a lot of times, I'm not saying all the time, a lot of times it only takes minutes for that situation to happen. And then you take the rest of the day thinking about that situation that happened. Somebody come and they take something. It took a minute to take something, but because they took this one from you, you're going to give up that too? You're going to give up this vision because they took something from you? No, you got to keep the vision ever before you, even if somebody come and take something for you. Even if something happened and you break a leg, right? You have the vision hard enough that if you break a leg and you end up in the hospital, you should be in that hospital talking about your vision. That's how hard you got to keep it. That you can try to break me all you want. All it's going to do is make me talk louder. You got to have that kind of connection and commitment to your journey. And that's going to take you committing to a default that is a high vibrational, or that is peaceful, that is joyful, that feels powerful, and most importantly, that makes you feel alive. And Dr. Toni, you also said when you said when you start, you're not an author when you start the book. You're an author as soon as you get the thought for it. That's in everything right there, because a lot of people then went to college and got degrees to do a job nobody ever asked to see. Nobody ever asked us. They just took your word for it. You got a degree? Yes, I do. And that's it. They never asked you to pull it out, right? Not saying don't get your degree, not saying go to college, because we want you to, education is important, right? Getting information and understanding is important. But what we're saying is the hindrance is not because you don't have a degree. The hindrance is that you didn't believe that you were good enough because you didn't have a degree. You could still do it. There's people out here doing things that they don't have a degree. My husband, he had a whole dream that he was able to live without getting that degree, simply because he had enough desire to do that, that he was willing to just go for it, right? And he was able to be an engineer. He went to college for engineer. He didn't finish at the time, but he still got a chance to be that engineer despite not having that degree, simply because he was willing to walk into a position that he wasn't qualified for. That he had to believe he was qualified for it. The world does not have to qualify you for your vision. You do.
Mm-hmm.
They don't ordain you to do what you desire to do. You do. Your spirit does. Where the idea came from does. So you have to have that type of commitment to your vision, and you have to be willing to start and not wait until you have everything in order. But just being the mindset of that person sometimes is enough. You want to be a doctor, you want to help people. How are you helping your family members? What have you been studying and learning? And so when somebody's sick come near you, you can give them some sort of advice before you don't get a degree and then you become a doctor in your mind. You become a doctor in your mind when somebody says, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" You say a doctor, and you start the journey to the doctor right then and there. You look at when does your path start? Your path start at the decision to make it a priority to become all you can be. And then you have to understand what your intent is to be what you chose to be. What's your intention for your default? Why do you want to be an author? Do you want to be an author because you want to make a difference? Why do you want to be a doctor? Do you want to be a doctor because you want to heal? Why do you want to sing? Do you want to sing because it heals? You have to have your intent in place for why you want to be what you want it to be. And that intent, when you have that intent in place, that's when the movement towards you becoming is. And then you start developing the perception that is needed in order for you to live that, have that as your default. That means, when I say have something as your default, that means if I climb so high, if I should happen to fall, I'm falling where my vision is. I'm going to go to this place where I decided to be this. For instance, I'll give you an example, right? For a long time, I thought my default was depression. I thought I wasn't meant to be happy. I thought, it just wasn't meant for me. I was just never happy. Every time I had something going on, the carpet was pulled under the rug. That was my belief. That was my perception. That's what was going on. Know the connection, right? But then I said, I wanted my default to be happiness and peaceful. I want to be loving. I don't want to always have to be so hard. I don't want to always have to be so strong. I want it to be peaceful. I want it to be, good. I want to know what it feels like to be alive and happy. I want to get rid of being stale, stuck, and stagnant all the time. So I had to discover what that default meant. That default to me meant I had to maintain a peaceful mindset. How did I maintain a peaceful mindset? I got clarity on what that means. I got clarity about myself. I got clarity about what it is I wanted to do. I got real clear about the vision. Because if I'm having a vision to do this over here, why am I over here doing that for a paycheck? Why am I over here doing that when this is not going to lead me to it? Now, I'm not against a 9 to 5. If you have a 9 to 5 and you're making money that fuels your vision, then by all means do that. But why would I continue to do something mindlessly when I have a whole vision over here waiting for me? It's not, there's no connecting point. Why would I continue to do that? So you would think I would go and even be a student under somebody who's doing something that I want to do. You have to be willing to be a student, willing to learn, willing to get your foot in the door, willing to do it. And I had to do that with my peace. I had to know how to have peace. I had to know how to be happy. I had to first know that it was a possibility to be happy and not let it go out the window every time something happens.
Mm.
I did at first. I did at first. Every time something happens, see, I told you I couldn't be happy. I had to be willing to let that perception go and leave myself vulnerable enough to find out that if you believe you can be full, whole, and happy, you can be full, whole, and happy. Guess what my default turned into? Full, whole, and happy. That means I can climb high, high, high. If I fall back, when I fall back, I don't fall back into depression. I fall back into my default of peace, my default of I'm okay, my default of I'm still okay, I'm doing good. So when something happened, and trust me, life has still been happening. Life has been going on in 2022. Life has been going on, yes, because I said
Yeah.
2022 looked like 2022 at the time life was going on, right? But 2020 is where my life turned around. So a lot of things came to the forefront during these circumstances and situations. I've learned a lot about myself in it. And while life is happening in 2022, my default didn't go back to 2019. My default didn't go back to before I made the shift. It went back to after I made the shift. It went back to my bottom line. This is as low as I'm willing to go. I'm not willing to, I've done rock bottom. I did that. And from rock bottom, I've created a home. So when I go out here in the world and things happen, what is my comeback home place of being? That's what I developed in order to maintain my happiness so that it can, if it's not just little spouts of happiness, it's consistent across the board because I had to have a default. You have to have that intent, that vision, that mindset, that tenacity, that strength, that courage, and you definitely have to have that power. Back to you, Dr. Toni.
That is so phenomenal. Attractive thinkers, I trust that you have really gathered and captured what Tichet just said so much. I was taking notes on what you when you were talking. You said the world doesn't qualify you for your vision, you do. Now, I thought about that. I said, well, what would attractive thinkers need in order to clarify that message and take it personally and really own what you just said? The world doesn't qualify you for your vision, you do that. So I thought about the process, and this is what I want to share with you, attractive thinker and visual encourager. It is a process to feeling fully qualified. You said the world doesn't qualify you for your vision, you do. Now that's a process. And this is what I want to share with you. You listening to and viewing and tuning into our Beyond the Break 2020 YouTube channel is a part of your process. It is supporting you in developing the courage and the confidence and the boldness that you need to stand fully firm in your vision with no wavering, knowing clearly that this is what you're going to do with your life. This is what you're going to accomplish, whatever that might be. Now, when it comes down to perception, Tichet, we talked about this earlier. You have to choose a healthy perception. See, we get to choose our perception of these experiences, these hindrances that we call them. We get to choose our perception of them. If you choose a perception that is not healthy, an unhealthy perception is one that makes you feel bad, one that makes you feel defeated, one that makes you feel like you cannot accomplish your goals. It's one that shows you impossibilities versus possibilities. Have you noticed that as soon as you shift your perception, all of a sudden, another way that you can reach your goal is you're made aware of that. It just comes to you, something you never thought of. You say, well, wow, I never thought of it like that. Oh, wow. Sometimes I find myself just saying thank you because something will come to my mind that I had not considered. A lot of times, Tichet, I have experienced, especially lately, the things that I've experienced, that I am surrounded by things that can bring solutions to me. You know, I've said this down through the years ago when we were hosting radio for Radio One. I said, we don't have a lot of problems. We have one problem affecting a lot of areas. A lot of times we don't have a lot of hindrances. It's our inability to activate the power that we have within us to overcome these challenges or to shift a perception. It takes power to shift a perception. Why? Because number one, we don't want to. We want to think the way we want to think. We want to see it the way we see it. A lot of times it takes, it's difficult to shift the perception because we're already in the mood and the energy of that perception. It takes effort and energy to change a mindset because when you change your mindset, you now got to shift other things. You can't just change your mindset and expect everything to stay the same. When you change your mindset, it changes everything. And a lot of times, I mean, that's like the number one thing that people don't like in this world, that they struggle with is fear and change. Change is not easy a lot of times, but like you said, we have to have a made up mind, and that calls for clarity and goal. So when you hear somebody say, well, I didn't do it because, or I couldn't get it done because, or I didn't register my business because, or I didn't renew my website fee because, or I didn't write the book because, or I didn't get back in touch with my graphic designer because, you have to understand that there's a underlying perception going on that is masking itself as a real hindrance. When the real hindrance is underneath of all of that stuff, all of those reasons and excuses that we give for not doing something, it could be they're not confident in themselves, or they don't believe in themselves, or they really don't want to accomplish the goal at all. They're just doing it because somebody said they were good at it, or somebody said that they should, or somebody, put a bug in their ear and made them believe something that they shouldn't have. There's a lot of reasons. Clarity is very, very important when it comes down to accomplishing your goals and having the fortitude to overcome life experiences and challenges and situations and hindrances when they show up. In the Attractive Thinker experience on page 571, we give you tools for how, because you might say, well, Dr. Toni, how do you handle situations and circumstances that come up? If they're not hindrances, then what are they? You might say, well, I am hindered. Dr. Toni, I hear what you and Tichet are saying, but this is really stopping me from reaching my goal. So if you believe that mindset is everything, then you will focus more. See, sometimes it's not what's being presented to you, it's what you see. Sometimes it's not being it's not what's being presented to you, it's what you choose to focus on. See, as attractive thinkers, that's why I'm so excited that you have this resource, because as attractive thinkers, we have tools. We know how to position ourselves and shift our mindsets in order to accomplish the goal. It's like a bobbing and a weaving type thing. Sometimes you have to, when you get to this level, you have to think this thought, and when you get to this level, you have to perceive life this way. You can't perceive it like you used to. You have to change your perception. It's like shifting. It's like a Rubik's Cube. You're always changing and shifting as you grow, because it's impossible to have the same mindset on step one and then have one mindset on step one and then keep that same mindset when you get to step two. It's not going to work, because you know what's going to happen? You'll end up creating step one's lifestyle on step two.
Mm-hmm.
When you don't change your mindset as you go, when you don't grow as you go, when you don't shift your perception as you grow, when you don't let things go as you grow, you keep taking all the luggage and the suitcases and the sleeping bags and the umbrellas. And I call them umbrellas. That's what my kids used to say when they couldn't say umbrella. Taking all of that stuff with you from step one, when most of the time you don't even need it on step two. A lot of that stuff we don't even need. Those things were accommodating for step one. But on step two, you've elevated, you've grown, you've changed, you're innovative, you know how to create what you need as you go. So you have to start unloading. That's another thing I've noticed, Tichet. The more levels I get to, the lighter my load has to be. And that's not
Mm-hmm.
easy, because we grow accustomed to things and we're attached to things. We don't want to let things go. or we want to take things with us. Sometimes we can create our own hindrances. It's not so much what's being presented to us, it's what we're bringing to the situation as well. So I'm saying all of these things. Tichet and I don't share these messages because we're perfect. We share them because we've experienced them along our journey. We've learned some things, not just about ourselves, but about situations that can be presented to you on your entrepreneurial journey. And we just want to give you some food for thought, another perception, another way of looking at things, help you with some tools that you may not have considered to help you along the way. You are an author. The world needs your book. Don't leave here without your book being on the shelf. People need to hear what you have to say. Not, I mean, you might say, well, a book like mine is already out there. You're not. I mean, it's just like saying, well, the world is full of women, or the world is full of women with short hair. Or you don't need another woman with short hair. Why not? The world is full of tall people. Why not another tall person? That tall person is not going to replace you. They're not you. They're them. The world needs you as you wouldn't even have been born. I want you to think about that. The world needs you and your ideas. So fortify your mindset, clarify your goals, make sure that they're what you really, really want. And if they're not, that's okay. I've been there and done that too. Go get a set of goals that you really, really want to accomplish. That's half the battle right there. Um, Another thing I wanted to bring to our attention is it's you mentioned this to Shet, and which made me write this down. You mentioned something similar to this, the things that we call hindrances. See, we're giving you different angles and perspectives to look at these things that we call hindrances in an attempt to support you in overcoming them so that they don't hinder you. You said, is it an opportunity for this experience to add to your goals or add to your journey? Is it making you a better person? Is this thing that's being presented to you that you're calling a hindrance, is it shaping you in a way to be able to reach the goal, be the person that you need to be to have the goal? Because the person that you are attempting to accomplish the goal and the person that you are when you accomplish the goal, that's two different people. So how do we become two different people? How do we transform from who I am now to who I am after I accomplish this goal? How do we transform to Shet if we're not presented with experiences? If we're not presented with circumstances, because it's those circumstances that snatch us out of the comfort zone, that snatch us out of our sleep, that make us awake and in the forefront of our lives. It wakes us up. It takes us off of autopilot and puts us back in the driver's seat, and it causes us to tap into our strength, and it strengthens us in areas that we didn't think we had muscle, and it brings things to our attention. It makes us aware of who we really are and what we really want. There were goals that I had to drop because my heart wasn't in it. When you're the type of person that you can do everything, or you're good at a lot of things, it's kind of difficult to let one thing go because I'm good at it, or because I can do it, or because I can get it done quicker. But if that's not my calling, because see, right now I'm in a season, you're probably in this season as well, or you'll get to this season, or throughout your journey you'll find yourself in this season, whereas you want to only spend your time on what you're supposed to be spending your time on. You don't want to be just doing things because you can do them. You want to do things because you're called to do them, because that's what you're here for, because it's a part of your legacy and your goals and the things you want to accomplish with your life. I could do a lot of things, but I don't want to spend my life doing them. So those can be hindrances as well, self-imposed hindrances that we allow to hinder us. See, this is a broad scope, and I hope that Tichet and I are touching on a lot of different areas so that you can find yourself in one of these areas, whereas you're not allowing hindrances to no longer hinder you. Um, you mentioned something about we talked about perspective, we talked about making your mind up, keeping your mindset, guarding your mind. I'm trying to help you on this entrepreneurial journey, attractive thinker. What do? You say, well, Dr. Toni, if I'm not going to let my hindrances hinder me, what do I do? Make sure that what it is that you're trying to accomplish is what you really in your heart desire to accomplish, because with that connection comes resources that you're going to need to put these hindrances in their place. When you have that kind of clarity, with that clarity, and I talk about that in this attractive thinker experience that you have and that you're going to receive on Amazon. I talk about that. Along with, do you know that vision has friends? Along with vision comes a whole host of friends that will support the vision. So sometimes to share, people have it out of order. They, like we call it, putting the cart before the horse. They want clarity, or they want to reach this goal, but they don't have clarity. With clarity comes the support to reach the goal. They want confidence and courage, but they're not stepping out there and speaking about their book or putting themselves out into the marketplace and sharing what it is that they have that's a solution to others. But do you know that confidence for me came with the more I had speaking events and the more I had coaching sessions and the more I had to speak about my book and things like that, the more I had to show up in my business and in my life to support attractive thinkers. That's when the confidence came. Confidence and courage doesn't come sitting, it comes going, it comes doing. So these are the things we hope that we have dispelled these myths concerning the hindrances and how far and how much you can really accomplish in life. Um, Something I wanted to add, you have to develop a perception, just like we say we have to develop a mindset. You have to develop a perception of for your circumstances, and it's just as simple as saying, this is how I'm going to think going forward. Now here's where you're going to really develop a mental muscle. You're going to develop some real muscle with this right here. If you decide on what perception you're going to have for circumstances. And I believe it's on page 571. The section is entitled The Atg Distraction Hack. It's a series of questions that you ask yourself when you get distracted or you're facing a hindrance. It's a series of questions that will give you the clarity that you need to put this hindrance in the proper perspective. This is why I love this Attractive Thinker resource. And I really want to encourage attractive thinkers to get it in your possession because it's a resource that you can always go to no matter what you're dealing with on your entrepreneurial journey and in life while you're creating, living, and leaving a legacy that continues to speak when you no longer can. Tichet, give us some closing comments on these hindrances and how not to allow them to hinder you, and tell the attractive thinker generation how they can get in touch with you, the visual encourager.
Yes, yes. One of the things that I want us to be clear about is we can't take everything that we have ever learned into every level,
Yeah.
right? Like Dr. Toni said, we have to allow ourselves to be open to learning new things and to be willing to let go. The art of letting go along the journey is very important, because there's times you let go and there's times you hold on, right? There's some things you let go and some things you keep. Just like in your home, there's some when you're moving from one home to the other and you begin to go through all your belongings. Your whole life has been in this house,
Mm,
right? This is a place where this used to be your default place of being. And now you're moving to another default place of being, rather you could be upgrading to a bigger or whatever, right? And so if you're going to a different place, no matter if it's bigger or smaller, you'll begin to look at everything you have that does not match who you are in that place, the vision that you have for yourself in that place, because the vision you have or how you want it to be in the next home default way of being, the vision that you have for that person is not the same as the vision you had when you moved in here, because growth has taken place
mm,
here. And so you begin to look through it and you begin to ask yourself those questions. What do I want to keep? What do I want to let go? You begin to look at even your clothing. You might not even dress the same, or you might not be able to fit the same thing. Some stuff in your life does not fit the next level. There's some things you have in your perception that does not fit where you're going, and so you let it go. But there's some stuff that has significant value in your life that you treasure for all of your life, that you hold on to. You have to begin to, protect that, and see how you want to move that, and making sure that it doesn't get lost or broken in the process. You have to do that with everything. You have to do that with your heart. There's some people you can't let in, and some people you can. There's some things you have learned or held in your heart that you might have to let go of. Some of them anger. You're gonna have to let go of some of the stuff people done did and said to you. You're gonna have to let go of some of them offenses that was caused against you in order for you to be free. And then there's some things that gave significant value to your heart and to your spirit that you can cherish forever. There are some ideas you need to let go because they were a part of a default that you're no longer attached to. And there's some ideas that you have taken, that is wisdom that you gain, that can take you far beyond whatever this level you have in expectation. There are some things you've learned in this particular home that you are going to need for the next home. There's some tools and stuff that you're going to need to help you to get through the next level. And so that you can have everything you need to get to the level after that. Because guess what? When we are attractive thinkers, we are visionaries, we go from level to level to level, from vision to vision. We accomplish that, manifest, create, accomplish that, manifest, create, accomplish that, manifest, create. We keep going, and we don't let anything get out the way. We have to get in the way. We have to get to a point where we're so open that we look at the stuff that would normally hinder us and ask ourselves, how can this work for me?
Mm-hmm.
How can I apply this? What's really going on? That what's really going on question will have you looking in places you wouldn't normally look at had this situation occurred before you had the mindset of looking beyond your hindrances, and then being able to figure out what tool use it. Because here's the thing, Dr. Toni, when you was talking about growth, right? Nothing will make you stronger, or nothing will make you more bold than being tired of people running over you. That type of stuff that's been going on, you have people that want to push over, and you might have been a pushover in your life, and you wanted to please people, and you let people just kind of walk all over you. But then at some point you got tired. You can't feel guilty for being tired and not letting people push over you anymore. You can't feel guilty for not being a doormat anymore. You have to feel empowered to understanding that my value is in who I am, and who I am will never let me deal with somebody disrespecting me, downplaying my vision, trying to shut me up, holding me down, holding me back. Who I am will never allow me to do that. Now, who I used to be, that's different than who I am. I make no apologies for who I used to be, because who I used to be got me to where I am, and where I am is getting me to where I want to be. We are on journey to fulfill a vision, to make sure we leave a lasting legacy for which we came into this physical human experience, and allowed our spirit to enjoy the benefits of having five senses, multi-sensory inner senses. That's what we talked about last week. Having vision, clarity, movement, growth. So all for the purpose of power and feeling alive. You can find me on my website at www.visualencouragement.com. We provide mental support for movers and shakers, for trailblazers, pathfinders, and groundbreakers. All you visionaries who desire to move mountains but need help lifting the heaviness so that you can create a new vision for yourself. Go to my contact us page, put in your information, let me know how I can uplift you, enlighten you, and encourage you so you can live a life of fulfillment beyond the break. I'll see you soon.
Awesome. Tichet, thank you so much for your expertise. I so enjoy co-hosting Beyond the Break with you and sharing these powerful tools and resources that we've gathered along the way with the attractive thinker generation and visual encouragers around the world. I count it an honor and a privilege to have learned from my journey and gathered something that we together, we come together and we share it in hopes that it will help others. I wish that I had the wisdom that I have now back then, but I don't regret that because I can't judge where I was based on where I am now. I hope you get that, attractive thinker. I don't judge where you used to be by where you are now. And it's an easy tendency to do so. We're learning and we're growing and we're evolving. I'm grateful to be able to pass these gems along to you. And in turn, we trust that you're going to pass them along to others. Subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss any of these episodes of Beyond the Break, our YouTube channel, Beyond the Break 2020. Subscribe, click like under this video. Comment, talk to us. We want to hear from you. What do we need to do more of? What would you like to hear more of? What's working for you? What are your successes and accomplishments? What are your goals? Leave them in the comment section below so we can have the conversation and share. Click that share button. Share this message with your circle of influence because if it's helping you, it will definitely help others. Dr. Toni Hatton here, your identity coach and get to the root specialist at theattractivethinker.guru. Remember to get your freebies over there. We have several freebies over there that are going to enrich your life, support you in turning your problems into your solutions. You always hear us say, our life's work, that is to make your life better. Remember, it is not what you're going through, it's how you're viewing it. Think attractively, and we'll see you soon.